don't often use decks with illustrated minor arcana. I prefer Pip Decks. Pip Decks are just like regular playing cards. Each card shows just the number and the suit without any imagery telling you what it's supposed to mean. I like these kinds of decks more than illustrated ones like the Rider-Waite-Smith decks and their clones, because they leave more room for personal interpretation rather than being tied to specific meanings. That said, I can still read with illustrated Pip decks if I want to, and sometimes I go with the imagery on the card, yet other times I ignore the imagery and just focus on the numerical meanings. When people see me reading with Pip decks, they often assume these decks must be complex or advanced to not rely on illustrations. And they'll say, "Oh, I could never do that. It's so hard." But they are usually surprised at how simple and easy it all is. I'm going to show you how I read Pip decks so you can do the same. Reading is not about memorizing the meaning of each card. It's much more intuitive than that. While you might naturally memorize cards over time, that's not the primary approach. Instead, you will focus on two things. Number one, what does the suit of the card represent? In a nutshell, wands represent our work, our actions, careers, jobs, creative projects, and hobbies. Cups symbolize our inner world, including our emotions, spirituality, and personal identity. Swords reflect conflicts, whether internal struggles, disagreements with others, fears, or worries. Coins represent physical assets such as money, property, and physical health. The next thing I consider is, what does the number represent? Start by learning what the numbers mean 1 through 10. Once you understand both what the numbers mean and what the suit means, you can combine the two and forge your meanings immediately. You'll be surprised by the unique interpretations you come up with using this method. Therefore, you really only have to memorize what the 10 numbers mean and what the 4 suits mean, rather than what each individual card means. I use the Kabbalah for numerology because it's familiar to me and it makes sense. But it's okay if you prefer a different numerology system where the numbers mean something else. You will discover your meanings as you work with the tarot. When working with the tarot, whether for divination or self-discovery, you are building a personal inner vocabulary between yourself and the cards. As long as you're consistent with what the numbers mean to you, your deeper mind will use that understanding to communicate to you through the cards. It's all about creating a lexicon that works for you. You are establishing a language with the cards, which is essential. Your understanding of the numbers and the cards will continue to evolve. Looking back at what I thought certain cards meant years ago, I realize how much my perspective has widened, and that's wonderful. It's natural for your understanding of things to evolve and shift over time. However, you don't want to start by jumping from one system to another, constantly switching and abandoning each one. Doing that will only lead to confusion, and you'll struggle to build any real sense of communication with your deeper mind. Instead, find a system of numbers and suit meanings that works for you, stick with it, and commit to it to build a very logical communication system with your deep mind. The aces. Remember, tarot is a card game. It's similar to bridge, but more complex. In the pips, aces are the strongest card in each suit and can win any trick in their suit. An ace essentially rules its suit. In a reading, an ace often represents a fresh start, success, triumph, or having authority over what the suit symbolizes. Aces are potent cards in a reading, representing intense, positive energy. There's no such thing as a negative ace. They are always a sign of something positive and full of potential. In any reading, they carry much weight and signify great opportunities or forces at work. The twos. What does a shift from 1 to 2 mean? It represents instability. 2 becomes aware of its separateness, realizing it's alone. Before this, the 1 didn't recognize anything outside of itself. This recognition leads to seeking out of another, marking the start of duality, positive and negative, masculine and feminine, not in a physical sense, but in terms of consciousness. Like the poles of a battery or magnet, this split creates a dynamic tension. The two sees themselves as incomplete and search for a balance The two sees itself as incomplete and it searches for balance or wholeness, creating a sense of instability as it seeks resolution in the number 3. Twos, as I see them, represent impatience and a sense of longing for something that feels missing. It reflects a perceived lack or an unfulfilled need. While many people associate twos with relationships and balance, it's not about balance at all for me. Imagine a tripod missing its third leg. It would fall over. The 2 symbolizes imbalance and the search for stability and a desire to fill a perceived gap. When I see a 2 in a reading, it's not that it's negative, but it does represent impatience and the drive to address whatever it is that feels incomplete. It's about recognizing a gap or need waiting to be fulfilled. The 3s. 3s represent balance. They signify the first true sense of stability and alignment and mark the introduction of planetary associations in the older version of the Hermetic Tree of Life. The trees are associated with Saturn. Many people think of Saturn as Kronos, the stern old man figure, which can be one aspect of Saturn. However, Saturn also represents the Great Mother, the universal feminine energy. In contrast, the 2s symbolize the Great Father, the great masculine energy. The 2 is content within the 3. It has found its mate here. When it comes to the 3s in the pips, they represent the beginnings of manifestation, something that has been desired or longed for in the 2s. Because Saturn moves slowly, the 3s often indicate long-term results, typically based on sustained effort by the person involved. This effort is driven by a desire to fill a perceived lack, and the manifestation that occurs reflects that effort. Saturn, represented by the 3s, can have positive or negative meanings depending on the suit and the surrounding cards. In general, the 3s promise long-term outcomes. If the manifestation is something unwanted, it's a signal to change course immediately, as it could lead to long-term challenges. On the other hand, if the manifestation is positive, it's a reason to celebrate, and it suggests that the hard work is paying off and will continue to bear fruits over time. The 3s indicate the beginnings of manifestation in the suit that they occupy. They indicate the results of filling a perceived lack and the possibility of long-term outcomes, whether positive or negative. This provides guidance to avoid being stuck with undesirable results. Either keep going if things are on the right track, or make immediate changes if they're not. The 4s. The number 4 represents the next step in building something solid and stable. Unlike the flexibility of 3, the tripod, 4 creates the foundation of a square, less mobile but stronger and ready for expansion and growth. While the 3 focuses on developing and solidifying ideas, 4 takes that foundation and builds on it, allowing for progress and expansion. In numerology and tarot, 4 provides the stability for creativity and action to thrive. Linked to Jupiter, 4 is also connected to themes like growth, success, generosity, and justice. When 4s appear in readings, they often signify the need for structure and order, but not just for its own sake. Structure is necessary to enable growth and positive outcomes. Sphere number 4 on the Tree of Life, associated with Jupiter, represents mercy. This is why there is no genuinely hostile 4. This is why there are no genuinely hostile 4 cards in the tarot. Even in challenging situations, there's an underlying theme of compassion, justice, and prosperity. However, for these qualities to manifest, personal effort is required. action must be taken to create the order and stability needed for these blessings to take root. The suits in a reading will determine the specific area of life that requires attention. This could involve organizing your paperwork, tidying up your home, clarifying your thoughts, or strengthening your spiritual practice. Regardless of the context, the message of the four is clear. Get your ducks in a row. Build your life on a solid foundation, not on shaky ground. Order is essential, not as an end, but as a means of fostering growth, prosperity, and justice in your life. The fives. In its effort to maintain stability and balance, the number 4 can sometimes become stagnant, resisting change and growth. To move forward, 4 evolves into 5. While 4 represents fairness and equilibrium, 5 brings action and movement, shaking up 4's stability. 5 introduces the energy of action, often appearing as challenges or struggles. Ruled by Mars, the planet of war, 5 is associated with conflict, ambition, and confrontation. 5 carries out the justice that 4 represents, but this process isn't always smooth or fair. 5's energy can feel chaotic or sometimes even cruel, pushing boundaries and driving growth through discomfort. While this disruption can be helpful for change, it can sometimes go too far, turning into revenge or unnecessary conflict. The tension 5 creates is often transformative, even if it feels uncomfortable. 5 often signals the need to face a challenge or navigate conflict in readings. Its meaning depends on the suit and surrounding cards, as it can represent anything from entering a struggle to resolving one, or questioning whether the conflict is even needed at all. For instance, in the suit of cups, 5 might represent emotional loss or regret, while in swords it could indicate conflict for its own sake. Depending on its association with difficulty, 5's core message is about growth through challenge and standing up for oneself. It reminds us that when approached thoughtfully, conflict can serve a greater purpose by pushing us beyond stagnation and driving personal evolution. The sixes. The number 6 represents the sun. Without the sun, life as we know it would cease to exist. The number 6 serves as a reminder of our dependence on a greater power for survival, reflecting the interconnectedness of all things. Spiritually, 6 is linked to salvation, miracles, and divine intervention. It embodies the energy of solar and sacrificed gods, reminding us that some challenges in life cannot be overcome by effort alone. When the number 6 appears, it signals the need to ask for guidance and support from a higher power. Solutions often come through the intervention of this universal force, not solely through our own actions. In my practice, I work with the solar light, a concept tied to the energy of the number 6. The solar light symbolizes the higher power that accomplishes what we cannot accomplish on our own, and acts as the sustaining force of the universe, much like the sun sustains life on Earth. For example, in 12-step recovery programs, individuals are encouraged to turn to a higher power to regain balance and clarity. The number 6 on the Hermetic Tree of Life represents this higher power and its ability to restore harmony. The number 6 reminds us that we rely on a universal source to thrive, much like life on Earth depends on the sun. Without that connection to a higher power, navigating life's challenges becomes as impossible as living without sunlight. The 6s teach us that surrendering to this greater life force is not a weakness, but a path to clarity and alignment. The message of the number 6 is clear. We aren't meant to handle everything alone. The 6s symbolize harmony, balance, and the opportunity for salvation through surrender. They remind us to align ourselves with the higher power that guides us towards solutions and peace. While the specific meaning of the number 6 may vary depending on context, its core idea remains the same. Our reliance on this universal force is our greatest strength. The 7s. The number 7 is associated with Venus and traditionally represents good luck in ancient cartomancy. In the system I studied, 7s always symbolized positive change no matter what the suit. 7s consistently bring messages of good fortune. But what is good luck? It's simply cause and effect. Good luck means there's a shift for the better, improving your thinking, solving a problem, or upgrading some area of life. Sevens represent this concept of transformation. They encourage us to find beauty where we once saw ugliness, resolution where there was once conflict. Since sevens are tied to Venus, they often prompt us to notice and align with beauty in our surroundings or within ourselves. These moments of change or luck require us to be open and prepared. Sometimes we miss these opportunities because we're too focused on the problem instead of noticing the solution or the chance for improvement. When a 7 comes up in a reading, it's a reminder to seek beauty in the situation. Look for what is uplifting and take action to create beauty if you can. This might mean rearranging your furniture, wearing something that makes you feel good, adding fresh flowers to your space, or shifting your perspective to see things more beautifully. These small acts invoke the energy of Venus and align you with the transformative power that 7 represents. The key is to engage with this energy actively. Luck doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Being ready for it is crucial. By beautifying your thoughts, environments, and actions, you prepare yourself for the upgrade that the 7 signifies. This energy wants to bring positive change, but it's up to you to recognize it and welcome it into your life. Be aware, stay open, and let the energy of Venus guide you toward the breakthrough that is waiting for you. The Eights. The number 8 is linked to the planet Mercury, which represents the mind and embodies the Hermetic principles. Mercury, the messenger of the gods, symbolizes communication, travel, and mental agility. It governs short-distance travel and commuting, reflecting its association with speed and adaptability. The image of quicksilver, constantly shifting and flowing, perfectly captures Mercury's energy, dynamic, flexible, and quick to respond to change. This adaptability makes the number 8 a potent symbol of movement and transformation. Mercury also carries the archetype of the trickster. While this might seem negative, the trickster often brings valuable lessons for growth and change. Challenging or fooling can push us to think differently, adapt, and evolve. In a reading, the number 8 can indicate intellectual progress and adaptability, but also might signal the need for a shift in perspective. This transformative energy makes the number 8 a communicator and catalyst for growth and renewal. The influence of the number 8 depends on its position in a reading and the suit it belongs to. Each suit shapes the energy of the 8 differently, creating unique expressions of its qualities. 8s often connect, bridging gaps between ideas, experiences, or other cards in a spread. They symbolize movement and the intellectual ability to understand and communicate complex situations. As agents of change, 8s can signal opportunities to pivot, adapt, or overcome challenges, especially in complex readings. However, making the most of these opportunities requires effort, focus, and a willingness to confront the challenges that the 8 presents. The number 8 embodies the powers of the mind, medicine, and alchemy. It represents intellectual power and the ability to refine raw materials, ideas, emotions, or circumstances, reminding us of the potential for growth through change. Whether serving as a connector, a trickster, or a force for transformation, the number 8 carries deep meaning. It encourages movement, intelligence, and adaptability, urging us to embrace change as a tool for growth and improvement. The Nines. The moon represents the number 9. The moon plays a unique role, transforming the sun's light and creating magnetism. This magnetism is essential because without the moon, there would be no tides, and life on Earth as we know it could not exist. The moon formed when a massive asteroid struck the Earth, flinging a piece of it into orbit to become our satellite. Without this event, life here would have been impossible. The moon symbolizes magnetism and serves as the feminine counterpart to the masculine energy of the sun. While the sun is often seen as a fatherly figure, the moon embodies a mothering energy. It can also be considered the Earth's sister, as it originated from a piece of the Earth itself. The moon represents magnetism for both good and ill and is deeply tied to the power of magic. Understanding its phases, full, new, waxing, waning, is crucial in magical studies. The moon influences magnetic forces, including emotional and mystical energies. In readings, the appearance of the number 9 often reflects what a person is drawing toward themselves, what they are attracting with their magnetism. It also speaks to their emotional state. Just as the moon governs the ocean's tides, it also influences the tides of our emotional bodies. The emotions someone holds directly affect what they attract into their life. The suit and the surrounding cards provides a profound insight. These elements help determine what the person is magnetizing, their emotional state, and the overall energy they're working with. The moon's connection to emotions and magnetism is central to understanding the role of number 9. The 10s. 10 represents the earth. 10 is the point where something manifests in the physical world. In this sense, 10s are tied to the planet Earth, not the element, but the planet, and represents outcomes, good or bad, of what has already been set in motion. 10s don't usually signify random events. They are almost always connected to a person's actions, thoughts, or behavior leading up to that point. If the outcome is negative, the good news is that it's already happened and the person can make changes to avoid repeating it. 10s signal the result of past behavior and thoughts. The decision then lies with the individual. Do they want to keep repeating this pattern, or do they want to let it go and move forward? If the outcome is positive, the rest of the reading can help identify how to maintain that success. If it's negative, the reading can highlight what needs to change. Either way, the card points to something that has already occurred. It's up to the individual whether they choose to continue down the same path or create a new one. If you would like to see how I interpret each individual pip card, make sure you download my free booklet, How to Read the Marsay Tarot. You can find the link in the video description. You can also find my series of short videos for each of the trump cards. Keep an eye out for my video on the court cards coming soon. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, blessed be.